I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novi-Williams, and this is the TGL TBD Sports Business Podcast, the Sporticast.
How do I feel about that? I'm just trying to go visceral because I didn't know what, breaking news. So,
breaking
it's
news,
not like that.
yeah. There's no planning here.
Yeah, no planning. TGL TBD. Not bad. Yeah, okay. I'm going to give you an okay on that one.
Well, if you give me another year to think about it, the product will be better. Yeah.
Yeah. One more year. I mean, deflating roofs and tents and things. And so if you were really into seeing what the Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy Golf League was going to be like, the simulator and the undulating different greens, you're going to have to wait a little while longer. That's what we're talking about. Supposed to launch in January. Might have to push it back a calendar year. Obviously, with the problem they just had with the roof, there's a very specific time of year and a window in which they can get this done, and simply not going to be in January.
Yeah, it's a huge bummer, obviously, for I would say everybody involved.
Exactly.
From Tomorrow Sports, which is the venture with Mike McCarley, Tiger Woods, and Rory McIlroy, which is partnering with the PGA to put this on. The 6 team owners that bought teams in the past 6 months, partners, media, everybody I'm sure is really disappointed.
There was a big push. There was a lot of press behind
this. There was a big push, and as you said, there was a facility, their facility down in Florida, their custom-built facility on the campus of Palm Beach State College was damaged in a power system failure. The inflatable roof collapsed. It sounds like there was a little bit of other damage as well. And unfortunately, because of the way the golf season works, this is not the kind of thing you can push 3 months. They wanted to launch in January because of what other sports were doing on the calendar, also because of what players like Tiger and Rory and Colin Morikawa and Justin Thomas, what their schedules look like in terms of tournaments. So there's only a specific time of the year that they really feel they can do this. So a little bit of a postponement ends up being a 12-month postponement. But they are now looking at January 2025, Scott, to kick this thing off, which is, again, I think a big bummer for pretty much everybody involved.
All right, so you've got this and, the power problem. We're going to get to this later, by the way. You got F1 and manhole covers. You've got no hot water at the Commander Stadium. It's good to know that the multi-billion-dollar sports industry has pretty much the same problems I would have in my house.
Exactly. Yeah, my dishwasher is not working right now. I wonder if it's working at the Commander Stadium.
Tell the world,
right
by
now.
The way. Tell the world. This is okay. A little tangent. Tell the world. I think you feel good about the efforts and the lengths at which you went to correct the problem, and I salute you. But tell the world what you did to correct this dishwasher issue.
I have a dishwasher in my Manhattan apartment that is probably 30 years old, is my guess. And it stopped working, and I last Sunday took the entire inside apart.
I'm giving you this.
The filter, the intake valve.
But by the way, whoa! Who was it that told you that your dishwasher had a filter?
I have a really annoying colleague that mentioned to me that
because I too have cleaned my filter in my dishwasher.
Yeah, and I'm sure, as you know, because you've done it, it's not a
pleasant
nice,
case,
fun job. I feel like I needed a hazmat suit to get in there. Anyway,
I don't often use the word gunk.
I like
the word gunk.
A lot of gunk, and I was so sure that after cleaning out all that stuff that it was going to be working, and turned out that was not the problem. So
you are not the Maytag repairman.
Back to square one on the dishwasher,
and back to square one for Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Mike McCarley.
Yeah, I mean, right. I'm sure there is if I'm looking at the silver lining here, I'm sure that given another year of preparation, I'm sure there's a lot more things they can have buttoned up, and so I'm sure the product will look probably even better next year than it would have if they'd gotten it up this year. But yeah, I think this is, we saw the revenue projections that they were putting out when they were looking to raise money. This was a group that was expecting pretty big jumps in its first 3 years in terms of sponsorship money, in terms of sales at the venues, sales locally for the 6 teams that they did sell. I'm sure everyone, the list of owners that came in, Scott, from Steve Cohen to David Blitzer to Alexis Ohanian and Serena Williams, Arthur Blank, Fenway Sports Group. It was an impressive group of owners, and I'm sure they were also all projecting something to happen this year as opposed to kicking off next year.
High marks for you going through that list of owners that way. That was really good because I know that was off the top of head. I know
it
that
was off top of head.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And then if anybody's counting, by the way, and you're like, wait a minute, you're missing somebody. That would be Mark Lassery and Tiger Woods himself.
Mark Lassery and Tiger Woods in the Jupiter team.
Yeah. Like, 'cause the problem was always going to be, well, who's going to get Tiger Woods?
No. Mark Lassery's in the San Francisco League team, right? That's him and Steph Curry, I think.
And Steph Curry. I'm sorry. Right. And then
Tiger and David Blitzer.
David Blitzer. Yeah. Sorry, Blitz. I apologize. Better be listening to the show and thinking about yelling at me, but not doing it. But it just goes to show, listen, if you've ever done anything at this scale, you just know things come up. It sucks.
Yeah,
but things happen.
I have been thinking about TGL and wondering if they were too early. If this idea, I believe that in the future, this idea of mixed augmented reality sports is going to be a big thing on television. And I've wondered if 2024 was just a little too early in the curve for people to really get behind the idea of watching professional golfers hit into a simulator for all of their long shots. So who knows? Maybe the delay actually ends up being media is moving so fast right now, Scott, as you know, and new sports ideas and offshoot leagues and things like that are happening so quickly. Also, there is a good chance, I think, that both fans and also just learning about where media is going in the next 12 months ends up being a benefit as well.
So you're saying a blessing in disguise, possibly.
We'll see. I'm sure they don't feel that way, but I think there's a way to make that argument at least. Right.
All right. So let me give you and this I never understood. I was going to make a rearview mirror comment. Like, we can look at Vegas F1 now in the rearview mirror. We talked about a little manhole cover problem in the practice lap. That was a real problem. Like 3 a.m. you finally get going.
Yeah.
Always bothered me. When you look in your passenger side mirror and it says objects in mirror closer than they appear.
Yeah.
It may
you and I agree
single,
on this.
Yeah, the single dumbest thing humankind has ever done. Yeah. I don't. So this is a safety device, so I can tell when a car is coming up. And you are telling me that car that I'm looking at is really closer. I don't know exactly how close, but it's closer than it appears to be because I'm using this cheaper fake glass to save like 8 cents on every unit. Incredible. Just stupidity.
The sentence construction on that is bad. But also, there's no rearview mirror, is there, in an F1 car?
No, there isn't. That's why I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I could see the drivers using like the cyclists little mirrors on the the helmet like that I could see. But give me your overall assessment. Our Eric Jackson was there. We had an event there. We had Greg Maffei speaking. Year one, how do you assess from what you can tell on the entire F1 Vegas trial?
I think it depends on who you're asking. The race itself.
All right, I'm going to ask you. I'm asking you, Eben Novi-Williams, owner of business near the Strip.
Bad.
I
hate it, Scott. I want it never to happen again.
Okay.
Yeah. This has been happening. Been brewing for months now locally, but so many people locally. If you work downtown, if you work in any of the tourism areas in Vegas, I think this is a huge disappointment for you. I think the construction that was going on for months, the way it changed traffic patterns, commuting, the foot traffic downtown, all of those things I think were a big drag. I know were a big drag for a lot of local businesses. The ticket sales and hotel prices that were posted originally were way over optimistic, Scott, and both those markets crashed in the lead up to the event itself. The practice round was a disaster. As you said, there was a loose drain cover that one of the drivers hit. It ended up canceling practice for a long time. There's a clash action suit now from fans who didn't get to see the practice. There was so much about this race in the lead up that was really bad. And then the good thing was that the race itself, from what I understand, I didn't watch it and I'm not a huge fan, but from what I understand from people who have, was a huge success. That it was genuinely compelling at a moment in this sport where a lot of races are not compelling. In some ways, the shoulder programming around F1 is so much more interesting than the race itself, and Vegas had in some ways the opposite. Max Verstappen won, which a lot of people would say, yeah, obviously,
you don't say.
You knew that was going to happen. But it was genuinely him and Charles Leclerc were going back and forth a lot, and the race for second was really compelling, and Charles Leclerc held off Verstappen's teammate to take second. It does sound like the race itself, once the racing happened, was really interesting, but there are 3 races in the U.S. right now, Scott, in Austin, Miami, and in Vegas. We agree that long-term there's probably not going to be 3 here.
Yeah.
Austin feels safe. Miami and Vegas feel like they are maybe vying for some sort of permanence here. But there's a lot of people that are very upset about what happened in the run-up here to Vegas, and it does make me wonder if this 10-year Vegas contract actually ends up happening.
Well, I just look at sort of the sports ecosystem as it exists. All right, everything can be really boiled down to a made-for-TV event. right? It's like, all right, tickets sold and all that. That's great. You want that. You want the big crowds. And we're moving to a world of experiential premium experience and hospitality. And I feel like F1 does that extremely well. I'm guessing that the premium experiences and hospitality around an F1 race in Las Vegas was top tier. Everybody loved it. You get what you want. You saw the list of celebrities that there. That's the sizzle you want to reverberate far beyond the racetrack and the strip. That's the image of F1 you want beamed around the world, and that's whether you're in Monte Carlo, it's the beautiful locale, it's the shots. I saw one, you had the sphere shots, you had the 20,000 foot somebody taking a picture from the plane, and somebody made a joke saying that F1 was mandating that the pilots force the passengers to close the windows on the side that could see the strip and see the race from up there,
or pay $10 to
or pay $10. You get your Wi-Fi and your F1 race, you can actually raise it, which I thought was
a great joke.
That was a very good joke. Yeah, I saw people going up and down the escalators near the track in F1 so they could see when they got to the top. So you're sort of in a world where that is what we're talking about. I think F1 does very well. Now, I would be a little concerned, though, with after the race, where I hear from Max Verstappen, who, of course, is like the big winner, of course, talking about, well, for me, it's about the essence of the race and the competition. Now, I know athletes feel that way, but, I don't like all this extraneous stuff, Verstappen said. Like, I don't really like when it's about the glitz and the glamour, and it's not about the racing. That, to me, shows a lack of sophistication. One, what sport is, entertainment. Yeah. Two, what enables you to make as much money as you do. And three, just what? I don't get it. No.
Yeah, especially the sport of F1 specifically, right?
Yeah.
Does Max live in Monaco? So many of the drivers live in Monaco. The sport on the high end has just been built around this idea of glamour and glitz and
it's
fashion
beauty,
and yachts,
it's wealth, it's the
fast cars.
There's
nice
a reason
watches,
why we do an event with
clothing.
Rob Report. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. And if you're Max and you're the best driver on the best team,
you can say what you want.
You can kind of say whatever you want. But yeah, going back to those, you mentioned those big black curtains and things like that. I think there were a lot of people in Vegas who thought, a race down the strip means that my store will have a front row view, or X and Y, I'll be able to stand on the side and see it. And that is not the way that F1 thinks about commercializing its rights and the ability to see things. So, yeah, I think in the idea in practice that struck a lot of people when this was announced. I think a lot of people were disappointed when they saw the way that all of this netted out. But we'll see financially. If this was a big financial success for the powers that be, we could get another 9 years of the Vegas Grand Prix and maybe even more.
All right, sticking with the sport of F1, what do you think about our friends over at Arctos Sports investing in Aston Martin? Of course, following Redbird in the sport. Not surprised that there's investment being made at a time when I think the stakeholders would hope for exploding growth, although we've seen a little diminution in ratings this year for the races. We saw a diminution in the U.S. for Drive to Survive. The big question is the momentum still there, or have we plateaued? Or what do we do if there's a plateau? It's a very interesting conversation.
If you were to have asked me last week what's missing from the Arctos portfolio that we know
F1.
of, F1 was pretty much they're in all 5 major U.S. leagues. They're in NWSL. They're an investor in PLL. They have European soccer. They have NASCAR racing. They're in esports. There's so much of the competitive sports landscape, not just in the U.S., but globally, that they are in. And F1, at least before this, not that we're aware of, I don't believe there was one. So adding that is a big piece to the portfolio.
Are you buy, sell, or hold on F1? Buy, sell, or hold on F1 in the U.S.?
I think if you were to ask me right now, I'm asking.
I literally asked you right now.
Yeah.
I literally asked you now.
I am a sell. But I say that as someone who is not a fan. I don't dislike it, but I don't. The racing doesn't appeal to me that much. So right. I am a sell. I think that a lot of the NASCAR Drive to Survive bump was overblown. From people I know who have been to and what I've read about both Miami and Vegas, they don't seem like they are delivering in the way that a lot of fans or even locals want it to. I am a sell personally, and with a caveat that if they can make the competitive on track, if they can make that exciting, and not a foregone conclusion where Max Verstappen doesn't win 6 weeks before the season's over. If they can really level the playing field, I do think actually maybe there's a better chance to appeal to American fans. But I think for the most part, the way American fans think about a lot of these things, I don't think that F1 has a huge commercial growth opportunity in the U.S., at least not right now.
I love from the competitive balance standpoint, it's the way you're looking at it. I go with, as I do everything.
And that's valuations too, right? That's what leads to this rush of investment from people like Arctos, are people who are looking at this and thinking that in 2 or 3 years, a team like Aston Martin has a chance to win the title, which this year they probably didn't.
Right. Well, I look at my focus group of one, I look at his pals, and I wonder, and I don't have an answer for this, because I don't think Drive to Survive was the answer. Not, at least not in my focus group. I told you before that my wife and my son watched it. They took in a couple episodes. They thought it was cool. I don't think they've been back, and it certainly did not translate into watching races. I think it's the same for my son's friends. So I wonder, where is the future eyeball coming from? I think there is a path to my credit card via simulators, via competitive video gaming. Yeah, I could tell you, if you stick my kid in a whether it's VR, whatever, in a realistic simulator and let him and his pals loose, I think they could get addicted to that. Obviously, full on F1 branded, and you got to figure out a way to upsell. You can buy a different engine spark plug, an in-game, an in-app in-game purchase, a la Fortnite, which I hate, the evil geniuses. I think there is a path. I just don't know. It's just interesting. It's not an easy one to get my focus group of one and his pals, which I think is significant for any sports league. How are you going to get the next generation of fans if you're going to come to this market?
Yeah, one of the ways that a lot of sports like this break into new markets is if there is a highly talented, highly marketable driver from those places. If there was a very, very talented, I know there are a few coming up.
Think the American driver makes the difference here?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think not. I think that a very talented Chinese driver probably fundamentally changes F1's presence in China. I think there's a number of other
kill
countries.
To see Yao Ming pushed into an F1 car.
He's bigger than the car itself.
Would love to see that.
Yeah, so I think that there's because of the saturation of the U.S. market, and it doesn't operate in the same way as some other international markets. Yeah, I am a sell, but I've been wrong on these things before, and there's a very good chance I am wrong on this one as well.
All right, well, let's stay in Las Vegas. Give me buy, sell, or hold on the Oakland, not for long, A's.
Oh man.
Moving to Las Vegas.
What a situation. Last week.
We're not there yet. Yeah, the owners approved it, but that's just one step in the process.
Last week, owners unanimously approved the relocation. The team's Oakland's deal in the Coliseum where they play right now is up in 2024. The proposed baseball stadium in Vegas, domed stadium because of the weather, I believe would be set to, if it happens, set to open in 2028. That leaves 3-4 baseball seasons where the A's are unsure where they're playing. Do they stay in Oakland, which is a tough situation, a tough sell for baseball fans? Do they relocate somewhere else in California? There's a big stadium question in the interim hanging over.
There's a big stadium subsidy question, I can tell you that. That's what owners look for. How much do you want to give me to build my facility? How much? That's not done yet. But the Raiders got $800 million.
I was going to say the local state and city proved very willing to give hundreds of millions of dollars to the Raiders. I believe the state legislature in Nevada already approved $380 million for this proposed baseball stadium in Vegas. So there's already at least a large chunk of public money commitment there. Vegas baseball in Oakland was not working in the current situation. The stadium was no good. The owner, John Fisher, was fighting publicly trying to get more money for a new one, and that seemed like it had run its
course.
When
when somebody yelled at John Fisher at the meeting, "Do the right thing." And he snapped back, I am doing the right thing. I am doing the right thing.
Which is debatable, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. I was surprised. I had not really thought about it, but if you had asked me, gun to my head really quickly, how often baseball teams move, this would only be the third since 1970, essentially, when the Senators relocated to Texas, and then obviously the Expos moved to D.C. It's way less common than I would have thought, given the way that obviously sports teams and baseball teams particularly moved a lot in the earlier part of the 20th century. But we'll see. It seems likelier than ever to happen, Scott, but the interim where do they play question, which we talked about this last week with the Arizona Coyotes, can be a tough nut to crack sometimes, is going to be fascinating for sure.
I will employ my caveat emptor, as I always do. If you are professing a lifelong loyalty and undying love to a sports team, be careful. That is all.
Yeah.
These are, I will say it for the 1,000th time, despite what you will hear from owners when they take over, that they are just simply caretakers of this team. They belong to the community. They are civic trusts. Only one vote matters when this stuff happens, and if they are losing money, it is that owner that says, I can get public subsidy somewhere else, and I cannot where I am. I am just like a carnival. I will fold up tent, and I will move elsewhere. These are sophisticated businesses, just like a Walmart, just like any other in your city. They are businesses. The fact that you, the fan, customer, are addicted to the product is a lovely place for the owner of that team to be. That is my caveat emptor for the week.
And you know better than probably, you talk to more owners than almost anyone in this industry, the owners love to say the opposite, right? Everybody talks about how you have to own these things just because of your love for the thing and the fans, and business stuff has to be secondary. But yeah, that in my opinion, that's a fallacy, right? We have so many examples of the opposite being true. I think I'm sure there are a lot of owners out there who really do love the teams that they own, and love the fans.
You'd have to be a dumb owner.
To the studio. Yeah.
You'd have to be a dumb owner to come out and just sort of profess, this is a business like anything else. I'm going to run it as such. Sure. I'm not going to buy a free agent if it makes me lose $8. So yes, you have to understand the nature of your customer in this industry, that they want. You don't have to win. I forgot which owner it was. He said, I don't need to win every year. He's like, I just need to sell the notion that I have the ability to compete to win. It was like a good parsing of words. Like, I don't have to win. I just need to sell the fantasy that I have the chance to win to keep people coming back. Yeah, you're not going to come out and say, I don't care if I win or lose. I get it. Get it. But understand, fans, what you're dealing with.
The name's escaping me, but the owner of the Reds last year or 2 years ago essentially was threatening to maybe move the team, and said the quiet part out loud. He essentially was like, "The baseball fans in Cincinnati, like, where are they going to go? They're not going to root for the Guardians. They're not going to suddenly find a different baseball team to root for other than the Cincinnati one." I thought
that's what I'm saying. If you're Bob Castellini,
I agree, and he got crushed for that, right? He got
because he spoke the truth. But if you're Bob Castellini, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You know that you have generations: your grandpa, grandma, a son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, cousins. It's a communal thing. I get it. I totally get it. But that makes you vulnerable as a customer.
At some point, does that geographical ties to local sports teams is probably always going to be a thing, but it does feel weaker now than it did. Right, your focus group of one. Are there New York sports teams that he cares about, or does he care about the players that he likes and the ability? And all that stuff?
No. The ability, I would say, like the direct to consumer, your league pass type of thing. His ability to watch other teams every single night. Like you can be, I can tell you, he's a Blackhawks fan. He was thrilled when Bedard went to the Blackhawks for hockey, and it goes back to Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. That Corey Crawford, because he's a goaltender, so he followed Corey Crawford. And by the way, I think he just liked the uniforms, but didn't hurt that they were winning. So he became a Blackhawks fan, and because of technology, unlike 40 years ago, where you could only see your home teams on TV. He can watch the Blackhawks every single night if he wants to, and then go see them when they're in town at multiple arenas, right? There's 3 in the 4 if you want to count Philadelphia. You go up to Boston, go down to D.C. You can go see them plenty. You can go to Chicago and take a trip and see them there. So the barrier to that, the sort of affinity for a team has been deconstructed, for sure.
Agreed. Yeah. So I think this argument, changes significantly in 20 years. This idea of where are the local fans going to go? They can watch literally any other team in the league.
Yeah, but let's not discount.
Care more about those teams.
I would still say the single determining factor, the biggest factor in which team you will root for, will be your zip code. So
right now, yes.
I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like it or not, parents do have a bit of influence over their kids, and say, if I take you to this particular game, you're going to root for that particular team. So
yeah.
That is all right. Tell me what you think about NBC and Notre Dame extending their contract. No surprise, since the incoming athletic director at Notre Dame sort of ran NBC Sports. I'm not surprised that they reached a deal, but through 29, what the value add graph here is that for now, this certainly cements ND's ability to stay independent.
Yeah, so they were paying, NBC was getting about $22 million, or was paying $22 million a year to Notre Dame under the current deal. In the past 4 or 5 years, given the escalation of TV deals both in the SEC and the Big Ten, Notre Dame was obviously asking for something commensurate with what schools in those power conferences are getting, which is roughly $55 to $60 million a year. So I would assume that this new extension with NBC is going to pay Notre Dame roughly that same amount. So almost roughly triple what the current TV rights deal is. In that scenario, this still works out great for Notre Dame. They are on broadcast television around the country. They do not have the conference affiliation. They have more flexibility with their schedule. They have a deal with the ACC for almost every other sports team except for, I think it's just football and men's ice hockey, which is in the Big Ten. So almost all the other sports get the conference affiliation kind of rivalry that they want with the ACC. This is a really good setup for Notre Dame. And as long as it continues to be financially a good setup, I would imagine they are going to keep it this way. So through 2029, and we'll see then what college sports look like. What if there is a financial imperative to get to a big conference? I'm sure they'll have that conversation. But for now, I am like you, Scott. I'm not surprised that they did this, and I'm not surprised by the money involved.
What I'm about to say comes with tongue firmly planted in cheek. But any side eyes at Pete Pavakwa from his former NBC colleagues? You know, Pete, as president of NBC Sports, was negotiating this very contract, and then he moved on over to become what will become the athletic director at Notre Dame. So if I'm Pete, if I'm on the NBC side, I want to pay as little as possible. Knowing I'm going to Notre Dame, I want to get as much as possible. So I don't know, a little side eye over there. Say, Pete,
here?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. We got to ask Pete next time we see him. Of course, like I said, I repeat, with tongue firmly planted in cheek.
Yeah, no, I get you. I do think it's a good question.
But it's an interesting scenario. We don't see this very often.
I also don't. I'd imagine, and this is probably very naive of me, but I don't actually think this was that complex a negotiation.
No, they've been partners for 4 decades.
You've been partners for a really long time. It's working for both of you. It's very clear what your peers are getting, and it's very clear that Notre Dame wanted something that was commensurate with what its peers were getting. So I imagine this was not a very complex thing, but I would also imagine that whatever Pete's role here on either side was a topic of great sensitivity, because I do think you need to set up certain procedures in both ends to make sure that he's not sharing information or whatever all those things are. Not that he would be, but right. I think it's actually a really good question.
And you know, one thing we didn't touch on, and we're not going to right now, but we will. Let's say for the next podcast, we didn't touch on all the upheaval at the NBPA.
Yes, we'll do that.
We can get into that, but
later this week. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to end on, I think, kind of a fun one, the Bob Knight bobblehead, and sort of the legacy of Bob Knight. Like, his temper probably got him in trouble more than it helped him. But will it? Daniel Libet asked the question. Will it help his merchandising legacy in perpetuity? And his kid is certainly trying to make that happen.
Yeah, Bob's son Pat and a few business partners were in charge of when Bob was alive. His commercial rights, his NIL, and Daniel wrote something in the aftermath of Bob's death last month about some of those efforts. And you're right, the very thing that Bob Knight, I think he's known for 2 things. He's known for winning basketball games, and he's known for his temper. They are definitely leaning on the temper side as a business opportunity. They sold a doll last year, I believe, that had him in mid hurl of the chair. Yeah,
there were two bobbleheads, just Bobby Knight in his the red sweater that everybody knows, and then one with him chucking the chair. Okay, want a little stat? I wrote it down.
Yeah, go ahead.
They made 19,850 of them, and I guess at time of print they had sold 4,000.
Okay.
which I think is interesting.
Yeah, so
they'll sell them out.
Yeah, we'll see, and maybe there was a sales bump when during his passing. But I think the interesting thing there is that Bob Knight did a lot of things that if he were coaching right now would be viewed very differently than they were viewed when he did them 20, 25, 30 years ago. And there is still, at least according to these folks, a commercial opportunity to capitalize on those things, right? Which, again, viewed through the 2023 lens, I think look very different than they were when he was coaching at Indiana.
Still, he's Bob Knight. He's the general. He's got the personality. There, people will know him, and he certainly, he was bigger than life.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent, like it or not. Certainly, he's a brand.
Yeah.
And there are people who will want to stay associated with that brand.
We got to get our own bobblehead dolls, Scott.
We should have bobblehead dolls.
Who does our NIL?
I don't know. All the bobblehead dolls I have that I had on my desk, and all the necks broke. Right? I had an ND.
Too much bobbling?
And I don't know where I got. Well, yeah, I don't know whether it was that or I dropped them, which is possible. I don't know. Remember, who did I have? I had an ND Chavez. If you remember that one, little ND Chavez?
I think that was mine.
Oh, that was yours. I stole it from your desk.
Chavez that was fine.
Oh, he migrated over to my desk for a while.
Catch.
Yes. Him jumping over, making that catch. Was that Yankees Mets? Was that Yankees Mets?
Mets Cardinals.
Mets Cardinals. All right. Well, yeah. So ND Chavez. I had a few. I can't remember, but I just see the heads like rolling on my desk.
You had a little Penny, right?
Well, that was a doll.
That was a little.
That was a little Penny doll with the satin smoking jacket.
You had Omri Caspi.
Omri Caspi. I don't know why I had that. Yeah, but I think his head was broken too. For those at Knight Legacy LLC, Pat and others, please reinforce the neck so that the heads are not rolling on desks everywhere. All right, close it out, my friend.
All righty, he is Scott Soshnick on Twitter at Soshnick. I am Eben Novi Williams on Twitter at Novi_Williams. The show is produced by Aaron Greenewald. Thank you to Aaron. Sportico's digital media editor, Cora Veltman, would like you to know that you can follow the show at Sporticast, which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.
TGL TBD.